On March 31, 2025, Angus Young turned 70, and the rock community was ecstatic. The AC/DC icon had been silent recently, concentrating on his music and avoiding the limelight, but a few days before his birthday, he had a rare interview that shocked fans worldwide. In it, he revealed shocking information about Axl Rose, the vocalist of the Guns N' Roses who had stepped in to support AC/DC in 2016. What Angus said wasn't merely a remark, rather, it was a revelation that caused everyone to reconsider what had transpired during that crazy period of rock history back in 2016. AC/DC was in a difficult situation when their singer Brian Johnson had to leave the Rocker Bus tour due to severe hearing issues. The band could have immediately called it quits because years of loud performances and constant touring had worn them down, and losing Brian felt like a breaking point. When Brian had to leave, Angus began searching for someone to cover just enough to finish the tour and keep the music going. That's when Axl Rose entered the picture. His wild and unpredictable voice from Guns N' Roses wasn't the obvious choice, but Angus wasn't ready to let AC/DC fade away. He's always been the band's heart, the guy in the schoolboy outfit who keeps the riffs coming no matter what. AC/DC's gritty no-nonsense sound didn't seem to match Axl's high-pitched wails and dramatic stage moves, but Axl was a huge AC/DC fan and he reached out to Angus through a mutual contact he offered to help, saying he'd love to sing those classic songs with the band. Angus didn't jump at it right away. He knew Axl had a reputation, late starts, big outbursts, and a voice that was totally different from Brian's growl. Still, something about Axl's passion caught Angus' attention and he decided to give it a shot. The first time Axl stepped on stage with AC/DC was in Lisbon, Portugal on May 7, 2016. Fans didn't know what to expect. Some were excited, others were skeptical. Axl showed up with a broken foot, sitting in a chair borrowed from Dave Grohl of Foo Fighters. It wasn't the usual high-energy AC/DC show, but Axl gave it everything he had. He belted out songs like Back in Black and Highway to Hell with a fire that surprised everyone. Angus, running around in his schoolboy uniform, traded riffs with Axl's vocals, and somehow it worked. The crowd went wild and the tour kept rolling for the next few months. Although Axl's style clashed with some of the songs and his seated performance couldn't match the band's typical chaos, it kept AC/DC afloat when they needed it most. In fact, Brian Johnson even gave his blessing, expressing gratitude that Axl stepped in to help his old mates. By the end of 2016, the tour came to an end and Axl returned to Guns N' Roses. Axl toured with AC/DC throughout Europe and the US, covering 23 shows. Until Angus' shocking interview in March 2025, when he sat down with a music journalist and reflected on those days with Axl, it seemed like the Axl chapter was just a strange one-off moment in the band's lengthy story. However, what Angus revealed turned everything upside down. He didn't just talk about Axl filling in, he revealed that there was almost a much larger collaboration between them. Brian eventually returned to AC/DC in 2020 for the Power Up album. Angus stated, "Axl didn't just save the tour, he wanted to do more. He had ideas for new songs and we nearly made an album together." That single lyric from the AC/DC album featuring Axl Rose struck like a lightning. Fans were stunned by the announcement, and Angus continued by explaining how it all began following a few performances. Backstage, still buzzing from the night's performance, Axl grabbed him aside. With his foot still in a cast, he looked at Angus and remarked, "This doesn't have to end here. I have riffs and lyrics I think could work for AC/DC. Let's compose a new piece." Angus was taken aback because he had only intended to finish the tour and not embark on a completely new project, but Axl's enthusiasm was contagious. He acknowledged that he had always admired Axl's drive despite the fact that their styles were very different, so they began exchanging ideas. At first, it was just two rock musicians jamming in the moment, but over the course of the following few weeks, those conversations became more in-depth as Axl would arrive with notepads full of lyrics and humming melodies, and Angus would plug in his Gibson SG and play along. They worked on a few rough tracks that combined Axl's edgy flair with AC/DC's raw power. Another was slower, almost bluesy, something AC/DC hadn't tried in years. It wasn't the classic AC/DC sound, but it wasn't just Guns N' Roses either. It was something new that could have upended both of their legacies. Angus claimed that one song had a riff he still can't get out of his head, a fast, dirty groove with Axl screaming over it. During the interview, Angus leaned back in his chair with a slight smile on his face. He explained that the Rock or Bust tour had come to an end and that Axl had to return to Guns N' Roses for their own massive reunion tour. In the meantime, Angus was juggling personal matters, including his brother Malcolm Young's deteriorating health and the band's ongoing grief over the loss of their rhythm guitarist, Malcolm, who passed away in 2017. The thought of releasing a new album, especially one that wasn't strictly AC/DC, struck Angus hard. It seemed wrong at the time, and the tapes or rough recordings they made were put away, and everything faded into the background. However, Angus' revelation wasn't just about the past. He implied that those lost tracks might not be lost forever. "I've still got some of those ideas somewhere," he said, tapping his head. "Maybe one day we'll dust them off." Fans began imagining what would have been an album combining two of the biggest names in rock, AC/DC and Axl Rose, after that little tease ignited the internet. Some people adored the thought of picturing Axl's ferocious vocals over Angus' well-known riffs. The idea of it was enough to get everyone talking about the past, even though some weren't sure, stating that it would be too different from what AC/DC stands for. When the band needed Axl, he didn't have to fill in, but Angus had nothing but appreciation for him, calling him a lifesaver. According to Angus, he could have continued doing his own thing, but he gave AC/DC his all. I will always remember the infrequent display of affection from Angus, who often lets his guitar speak for him. He even made fun of Axl's damaged foot, remarking, "The guy was hobbling around but he still sang like a madman. You've got to respect that." Axl hasn't discussed Angus' revelation much yet because he's been busy with Guns N' Roses playing sold-out shows and preserving his own legend. However, back in 2016, during a fan Q&A in London, he hinted at something more with AC/DC. At the time, people assumed he meant a few guest appearances or perhaps a one-off song, but thanks to Angus, we now know it was bigger than that. The interview only heightens the mystery. Does he still have those lyrics tucked away somewhere? For AC/DC fans, this is a lot to process. The band has experienced numerous lineup changes, tragedies, and health issues. Angus's 70th birthday feels like a significant occasion, an opportunity to reflect on everything, and he still surprises people. The rock world is still reeling from this one, with forums ablaze with arguments and reaction videos already appearing on YouTube. Some fans are pleading with Angus to unearth those old recordings and complete what he started with Axl, while others simply want AC/DC to continue doing what they do best, churning out pure unfiltered rock whatever happens. Bringing this story about Axl shows that he's not done shaking things up. It's not just nostalgia, though. It's a reminder that even legends like Angus can still have big dreams, even if those dreams don't always come true. Thank you for viewing this video. Please check out the other videos on the page, like, and subscribe. Angus' words have given us a glimpse into a path not taken, and he's got everyone hooked at 70. He's proving he still has stories to tell and maybe even some music left to make.